Hey, I'm Chase, and this is All Things Random. Today, we're looking at the Pagani Design Chronograph Sport. Now, I'm not the first, and I'm damn sure not going to be the last person to review this watch on YouTube. If you watch any watch channels, you'll know that this watch has been going around for probably a year and a half, and a lot of people have reviewed it. Well, I wanted to get my hands on it myself because I wanted to see if it's as good as some people say it is, or if it's not as good as some people say it is. Now, this is a direct homage of the Rolex Daytona, so it does have a great look to it, and of course it would, because basically they just photocopied what a Rolex Daytona was and slapped their Pagani Design label on it. But is it any good? Well, let's flip the camera around and let's dive right into the review. Okay, and this right here is what we're talking about. We're talking about the Pagani Design Chronograph Sport, also known as a direct homage of the Rolex Daytona. Now, there is a lot of specs packed into this watch for such a cheap price. I picked this up on eBay for $72. Now, this came straight from China, so it took about a month to get to my house here in Alaska. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this in the end. I may put it up on eBay again and sell it directly from the US, but I may keep it. Who really knows? Let's go over some basic specs. This is 40 millimeters in diameter, a lug to lug of 48 millimeters. This is 12 millimeters thick, so it's actually not too thick. And this has a band width, or a lug width, of 20 millimeters. Now, the bracelet is a solid bracelet with a brushed outer link, a high polished in link, tapers down to 18, and then the clasp here, the Pagani Design clasp, is 20 millimeters in diameter. We'll go over the clasp in just a minute. It does have solid in links right there. I'm gonna get it focused in. It does have solid in links, which are nice, especially on this price point. So anybody who has ordered anything off of eBay or off of AliExpress knows that as time goes on, technology gets a lot easier to, build a better watch. Now, this watch, again, has a lot going for it. It has a sapphire crystal, no air coating, but you get that sapphire crystal and that scratch resistance on the face. It does have a ceramic bezel insert with this tachymeter on it, and you know what? Ceramic bezel insert is made for more higher end watches. In fact, I will tell you that this watch, because it mimics almost identically the Rolex Daytona, it has a very high presence on the wrist. It just looks way more expensive than what it is. Inside is the Seiko VK63 Meca-Quartz movement, which is in my undone Snoopy Aces watch. Offers a 60-minute timer right here on the subdial. This subdial is a 24-hour, and then the ticking second hand right here. Now, one of the things I like about this watch is it does offer some water resistance, screw down pushers, and a screw down crown. Now, on the website, it says this has a water resistance rating of 30 meters. However, if you look on the case back, it says it has a water resistance rating of 100 meters with, again, a screw down case back. So I'm not really sure. Is it 100 meters? Is it 30 meters? It's unclear. Again, the Seiko Meca-Quartz, you hit the pusher once and it starts ticking at 5 ticks a second. So it gives a more smooth sort of sweep. You have both the quartz tick down here, but this gives you more of a feel of an automatic watch at a lower price. Hit it again, and it stops it and bounces right back. Now, the one thing I really do like about this watch is, like I said, it offers a lot of bang for the buck. If you look at the dial is very well done, as you would expect it to be. Has applied indices. The subdials are recessed and are textured, and, it just has an overall great feel. Even when you look zoomed in, the print on the Pagani Design is actually very well done. There's a few things that when you get to the macro lens that you'll notice when it comes to the indice here at the 9 o'clock. The indice is not well done. However, it's hard to tell from stepped back, but when you zoom right in, you can see that there is some issue. It does have a high polished finish, and it is slightly cushioned. You can see it has a nice, smooth, rounded finish, very similar to the Rolex Daytona and the Rolex Datejust. It is high polished on the top as well. Again, the mid links in the center are high polished. Not really a big fan of that because, you know, it gets scratched up really easily along with the high polish on the side, but this is mimicking the Rolex Daytona. Now, the Pagani Design Clasp is sort of mimicking the Rolex Glide Lock Clasp. One of the things that I do not like about this clasp is the fact that it is so tight in its tolerances. If you look right there, there's hardly any room unless you have a very sharp fingernail to get in and actually open it up. It's very difficult, especially to do with gloves on. Same thing right here, very difficult to get in. Maybe it'll loosen up over time. Proper scissor clasp right here that is milled out, and it does offer a sort of quick extension here that gives you just a little bit more room. And on the inside of the clasp, it does offer some micro adjustment. However, you're really going to need a slim tool to do it. Now, this right now sits a little tight on my wrist. I'm going to need to add an additional link and then move in the micro adjustment. However, it's just sort of a pain in the micro adjustment. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to leave it, you know, a little tight because it is a little warm outside. Maybe I'll just wear this more in the wintertime if I choose to wear it. But really, I'm planning on getting rid of the bracelet, and we'll go over that in just a minute. It does offer screw links, which is nice to see on a watch of this price point. It's not just push pins like a lot of watches you would see. Now let's do some close-up shots of the dial, and I'll show you some of the things I like and some of the things I don't like. So the first thing that I love about this watch is, of course, the dial. Everything just fits perfectly across the board. Of course it would because, again, direct homage of the Daytona. I love the way that the ceramic bezel matches the subdials, and I love the fact that the subdials are recessed. It gives it a nice three-dimensional look. I even like the fact that those recessed subdials are textured. Now that's where my first complaint comes in, because as much as they've done to this watch, they've sort of missed the mark on other things. Now the printing on the texture on the subdial is very sloppy. The numbers don't connect, and the lines you can see are starting to fade out as they sort of push towards the edge. Now this is sort of to be expected when you have a cheap price point like this. One of the things I do like is, unlike the subdials, the printing of the Pagani Design Chronograph Sport is crisp and clear. I like the fact that this is done very well, because if you're going to put a label on something, you want it to look nice. Now, my second thing is the fact that that hand does not line up with the 12 o'clock position, which means it wasn't placed on the movement correctly. It always pops back to that, but you can see that it is 2 seconds off. Is that really a terrible thing? It's not noticeable unless you zoom in, but it's still noticeable. Now, all in all, you really have to say, spec for spec, it's very difficult to find a watch just like this for the price point. With a sapphire crystal, most micro brands that offer the Seiko Meca-Quartz are in watches that are $200, $300, $400, to include my undone Snoopy Aces, and that has a mineral glass on the top, and this offers sapphire with the same quartz movement. In fact, I may do a head-to-head of chronographs, and I may include this, my Snoopy Undone Aces, and an automatic Swiss chronograph, and we'll see just how good all of them are together. One of the things I did not mention is the date down here between the 4 and the 5 o'clock position. It is nice that it does offer a date. However, it sort of does get lost in the dial. I like the way the dial looks. However, in some light, the reflection of the stainless steel hands here sort of gets lost in the white dial. A lot of people prefer the black dial because it's easier to read. It's a little more legible. However, I just love the look of the white dial. I think it gives it just everything that you'd want in a sport watch. Now here is the watch on my 7¼ inch wrist. You can see that it does fit a little tight right now. Here's the issue that I have with it with the micro adjustments is the fact that this sits a little tight. Maybe I've just gained a couple pounds, maybe because it's warm outside, my wrists are slightly swollen. Now the reason it has the quick adjust, let me just try to take it off. Again, this is one of the things that I'm a little disappointed about, is the fact that it's just so hard to use. Now, one of the reasons why you have this micro adjust is because, boom, you can do that, quick adjust, and it's on your wrist, it's slightly looser. But I am very finicky when it comes to my watches. Like, this right now feels fine, but the moment I get in my car and the AC turns on, this just becomes really loose, and I'm just not a big fan of a loose watch. I am really considering just getting a distressed leather band for this and then wearing it like that if I choose to keep it. All in all, you can see it's just a great looking watch, and of course it would be because it directly mimics the Rolex Daytona. However, instead of spending $12,000 on a Rolex Daytona or more because of the premiums, you can get this, you can get the look, you can get the feel for under $100. In fact, in most cases, it's well under $80. And if you can find it on sale, you can get it around $62, $63, depending on where you order it from. Now, I know they have these on AliExpress. I know they have these on eBay, and I know Pagani Design, I think they have their own website. Now, I have not done a lume shot because the lume is so poor on this watch, there's no reason to even really do it. Just assume that this watch has no lume at all because the lume is that bad. All in all, though, all in all, there are some pros and cons on the watch, but I feel like the pros outweigh the cons. The cons are more nitpicky, and the pros just far outweigh any negatives. I would recommend this watch, especially if you have a price point that is a little tighter than most. Most people do not have the ability to spend 15 grand on a watch, or even 5 grand on a watch, or even $1,000 on a watch, but this really does look like a more expensive watch. When you have the sapphire crystal, when you have the ceramic bezel insert, and just, that homage design from the Rolex Daytona, it just looks like a much more expensive watch on your wrist, especially when you're only paying $80 for it. Now, if you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment of the content you guys would like to see on this channel. I have so many videos coming up in the future, so hit that notification bell so you guys can be notified when I drop my next video. Until next time.